You know, I've seen a lot of rubbish written by people who forget what it's like to be a total beginner guitarist. You know, a beginner guitarist who is struggling with a basic chord, and in this case a minor chord, the A minor chord. I mean, just look at all of these supposedly helpful responses to people asking for help about this beautiful minor chord. Shocking, isn't it? I think people forget those early days of playing the guitar and the genuine struggles that you have. Now, if you're feeling like the A minor chord should be simple, but your fingers just aren't cutting it, you're in precisely the right place. And I'm going to break down 4 core problems you might be having, and more importantly, I'll show you exactly how to get that beautiful, clean A minor chord ringing out. Let's dive into the first of 4 common reasons why your A minor chord might not be ringing out clearly, and exactly how we fix these problems. The problem here is that your fingers feel clumsy, not quite getting to the correct strings and frets easily. Now there's that thing where your fingers kind of feel like they're doing this. You know, you go like that, and then you finally slowly get the chord down. And it's that initial struggle of remembering where each finger is supposed to go. The solution is a simple exercise I call the fingers on, fingers off and repeat exercise. Yes, very original, right? And so I'm going to guide you through that very quickly. No, not very quickly, slowly. Because, you know, a lot of guitar practice I think is slow work. So let's put on the A minor chord, right? You can see the diagram on the screen and the fingers to use. So take it slow. You know, slowly fret the chord, take your time. This isn't a race. You know, you don't win Grammys and stuff for being the first in the band to get to the chord shape, do you? When you've got your fingers down on the chord, you're going to lift your fingers just off, just a little bit, right? And then put it back on again. And with each subsequent repeat, gradually increase the distance your hands lift away, training those fingers to find their way back efficiently. This isn't about speed, it's about accuracy and repetition. Your fingers need to learn this path to build the muscle memory. Your fingers need to get used to the shape of the chord. So just slowly put it on, take off a little bit, put it on, back on, take off a bit more, and so you're getting further away, the distance gets greater and greater, and slowly you'll have this finger shape. The problem here is that your fingers might be collapsing, touching other strings, which will always inevitably lead to strings being muted or sounding buzzy. Now the solution is to focus on finger curvature. I love that word, curvature. Imagine your fingers are like little hooks, little arches like that, right? And standing up tall and making sure that they clear the strings beneath them. And make sure your knuckles are kind of pushed out a little bit that way, away from the fretboard. You know, it's helping to create the space underneath your fingers. And a great tip is to just make sure that you're using your fingertips, right? Just, I don't know, maybe you can see where my grooves are. Okay, so just behind the fingernail. And something that can really help with this arching is your position of your thumb. Now, if your thumb is at the back of the fretboard, roughly opposite the middle finger and the third finger, you know, this often allows for much better arching of your finger, getting able to get them out like that. Give it a try if you're not already doing it like this. Now, for many, it provides a pretty stable anchor that helps your fingers get into the right shape. Now, to check that you're playing the chord right, just pick each string, starting at the 5th, also known as the A string, and go along the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. Now, making sure that they're all ringing out. And this will quickly show you if you're accidentally muting a string or another part with your finger or something else with your fingers. For those of you ready to dive even deeper, I have a 7-day beginner guitar course available. It covers 4 great beginner guitar chords, and it also talks about playing your first songs. And this is all designed with a very simple, practical, frustration-free approach that we are trying to do in this lesson as well. And you can find a link to that in the description below. Now, the next problem often ties into the previous one and will also kind of tie into the next one too. Now, you might find that your notes aren't ringing out clearly, or you're having to press down excessively hard to get any sound at all, which quickly makes your fingers tired and sore. Now, a key solution here is to ensure that your fingers are placed just behind the fret wire. Now, think of it like this. The fret wire itself is what stops the strings from buzzing against the fretboard. And the closer you are to that fret wire, the less pressure you'll actually need to apply to get a clean, clear note. And it's this tiny shift that can make a huge difference in how much effort you expend. And another common issue that crops up here is finger crowding, especially with a chord like the A minor. You've got these 3 fingers all packed into a small space. And, your second finger here will have to be positioned slightly further back than you expect. And if you look there, you can see there's a bit of a gap between the fret wire and my finger. And this gives you enough room for your third finger to squeeze into the fretboard at the same fret. On the same fret. And here's a little bonus motivation. Once you've got this A minor shape locked in, you're just 1 finger away from an A major chord. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Another very common problem is simply that your fingers hurt. And this often leads to you applying insufficient pressure, which then results in buzzing or completely muted strings. It's a vicious cycle, isn't it, where discomfort leads to poor sound. Now, first and foremost, let's just acknowledge this. Sore fingertips are completely 100% normal at this stage of the game. It means you're actively building those essential calluses that will make playing really comfortable in the future. Now, honestly, don't worry about the pain. You've got to work through it, because you know what? It absolutely gets better. Now, the solution isn't to crush the strings. It's about finding the sweet spot of firm, consistent pressure applied right behind the fret. Now, as we talked about in the previous point, getting your fingers in the right position will drastically reduce the amount of force that you need. To build strength gradually, practice pressing down firmly and then releasing. Do this in short, frequent bursts. And remember, short, regular practice sessions are far more effective than one long, painful one. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our guitar playing. It's what we do consistently, if I just kind of paraphrase Tony Robbins a touch there. See, consistency in your practice, even for a few minutes each day, is how you'll build strength and calluses you need. And this particular tip kind of ties in with point 1 a little bit. We're doing the on-off practice. If you're looking for truly personalised guidance, I offer private one-on-one lessons on a learning platform called Till. Now, sometimes a direct session with an instructor is exactly what you need to break through a specific barrier. Now, you'll find a link to book a session with me down below in the description. Now that we've covered how to get your fingers working for the A minor chord, a common question is, which strings do I actually strum? Now, you might be uncertain about which strings to include, but if you look at a guitar chord diagram, what you will see are the strings that you should play. Now, if you see an X over a string, this means don't play that string. And so you'll only be playing from the 5th string, which is the open A string, down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And one of the reasons why we don't play this is because it can make the chord sound a bit muddy. So if we include it, It's a little muddier. If we take it out, it's a bit brighter. And that's what the X on a guitar chord diagram means. And if you want to know a little bit more about guitar chord diagrams, then you can click this link. However, for now, don't worry too much about if you accidentally brush that thickest string, that sixth string. It doesn't make the sound absolutely terrible. And you'll get more accurate with your strumming over time. Now, some players even learn to mute the sixth string with their thumb, but that's a technique for another day. For now, just aim to strum from the A string downwards. Now that we've broken down the A minor chord into manageable steps and talked about a few common problems, it's time to put it together, really. Now remember, the key here is to practice slowly and deliberately. Don't rush it. Your fingers and your brain need time to work together and build that muscle memory we talked about. So just strum the chord, just play it. Practice the techniques that we've looked at in this tutorial. And as you practice, celebrate every tiny win. Did you get even one string to ring out cleanly that wasn't ringing out cleanly before? Did your fingers feel a tiny bit less clumsy this time? That's a huge step, and you should acknowledge those and celebrate that progress, no matter how small it seems. And here's something important to remember on your journey. You should never feel intimidated to ask for help or to ask questions. As Simon Sinek wisely puts it, asking for help is an act of service. Don't deny the people around you the honor of being there to support you. Your guitar journey is unique, and seeking clarity is a sign, I think, of a truly dedicated learner. So keep showing up, keep trying, and you will get there. Your guitar journey is yours, and every step, no matter how small, is progress, isn't it? Now remember, every master was once a beginner. Now, for those of you feeling a bit more confident and maybe you already know your A major chord, here's a little practice that you can do. It's a bit of homework. So why don't you practice shifting between the A minor chord that we've just looked at and that A major chord, like this. And see if you can work on getting the two chords to sound nice and clear. And you can see the diagrams on the screen there. Those are the two shapes. Give it a try if you're up for the challenge. Now, if this video has helped you get even one step closer to mastering the A minor chord, then please do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. It really helps the channel, and it tells me that you found this tutorial helpful, so I can make more videos like this. And if you want to keep improving your guitar playing with no nonsense, empathetic advice, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on future lessons. The A minor chord goes really well with the C major chord. Check it out here. Thank you so much for joining me today, and happy strumming.